My name is Mary Kritz. I'm a bookbinder and a book artist. I find ways to create books, and I find ways to make a book look different than what we traditionally know a book to be. This is an interesting book. It's a Coptic stitch book that I've put together, and what I've done is I've woven hemp into the threads that I bound the book with. So what I've got is a woven binding here. I was reading an Architectural Digest book one day. I saw a picture of a Bugatti chair. And I thought, wow, I can make this. And I put a book in it. So this box is very interesting because it's got a hollow in the top, and the reason I did that is because I created the talking stick. I call this a lady's talking stick because it's quite small, fits in the hand, it's very delicate. What I did in the box is I created little booklets, and they have words that would be relative to talking. It was a box from smoked salmon. This design was on the box already, I just painted it. What I did on the back of the box is, this represents water and islands, the places where salmon might swim. I had these beautiful cards I was always going to frame and never got them framed. So what I did is I turned them into the journals. So there are two, there's a man and a lady, and what I did here is I used pictures from story of how maple sugar was discovered by First Nations people, and they allowed me to take the photographs, and what I've done is I've put them in the book here. So the story of the maple sugar discoveries in the books. I draw mostly from nature, from art, and from architecture. I like Gustav Klimt. I find when I do my art on my books, the little swirls, I'm always reminded of Gustav Klimt and the abstract artists. I use feathers, I use beads, I use glass, a lot of found objects. When I do the drawings, I'm using black pigment ink to create the outline, and then I use India ink pens. And sometimes I'll use gel pens because I can get them in a nice metallic color, and sometimes I use acrylic paints. I can remember one time I had no paper left in the apartment, and I went scrounging through my cupboards and found a package of seaweed, and I made a book out of it. So that was the most organic book that I've ever made. It was really quite different. I've used some peacock feathers for the little curlicues. I've done a leather binding on it. I had this fabulous art book with the Chinese mythology, and I've recycled it into this book here. So what I've got is a flax paper, I've got a cotton rag paper with silk in it, and I've got a denim paper in here as well. This blue denim, it's a very soft paper, it's really quite nice. And all of these pages can be written on. The bookmaking, what the bookmaking allows me to do, it allows me to play. It allows me to use my creativity and discover how I can create paper, how I can make paper into a book. I will take an odd shaped piece of leather and I will just play with it and see what I come up with. And I've come up with some very interesting little shapes and designs in the leather books. There's the inside of the book, and what I've done on this one is use some cutout photographs. This is another little endearment book. It's got a little rosette on it, and I used some glass beads. This was again a really neat piece of leather that I had, and a little coral, piece of sponge coral. Then I just, when you open it up, there's one book here, and the other book is here. The idea behind the endearment book is that somebody writes an endearment to somebody else. They pass in the book. That individual will write an endearment to the other person and pass the book back. I have offered workshops, and it's at the Ottawa School of Art, so registration is through them, to introduce people to bookbinding and to book art. So being able to learn the techniques of bookbinding, basic techniques, and then being able to create something that's not a book, that's a book that's not a book. Have a look at my blog spot. It's bookartiste.blogspot.com, and DeviantArt is bookartiste.deviantart.com. Every day, I mean, that's my job. I do books. I've got the best job in the world.